Welcome back to the Webby O'Neill channel. Plenty to discuss today, and that's Sir Jim Ratcliffe's offer to staff to return back to work at Manchester United on the 1st of June. Also, we're going to take a look at 5 players we feel are most likely to leave Manchester United, and I think it'll be a good chat, that one, so make sure you stay tuned and get involved with that. Now, first of all, let's start with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and that news that we've heard today.
Yeah, well, Sir Jim Ratcliffe walked into Man United, said there's going to be big changes. You know, we know he's talked about renovating the ground, made possibility of a new ground, but one of the bugbearers he came out with after walking round Old Trafford was the bloated workforce. And he had telegraphed it to everybody inside Manchester United. It's going to change, and it's certainly going to change, and it's ruffled a few feathers. People in offices working from home, well, he's telling them to come back now. You better come back, get your bonus, and if you don't like it, then that's the end of you.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Do you think it's a good approach, getting people back into work? It does feel like the culture would be enhanced a lot more in a working environment.
Well, that's what he wants, people hands-on. And it's nothing to do with his age or anything like that, or being a cantankerous old bloke, as some people have been saying. No, it's to get the workforce gelling together, all working on the same page. He's creating space inside Manchester United, expecting the workforce to come back. I don't know how many's there, it's not been said, but it sounds as though a hell of a lot of people are working from home, and he's having no more of it, and he's just telling them, get back in. I know some of you don't like it. You've let me know you don't like it. Well, that's the end of you. Come back in and get a bonus. That's what he's saying. He's having none of it. Now, a lot of people will turn around and say, oh, this is like, he's trying to penny pinch. I don't see it like that. I think it's good housekeeping, and it's also good for the environment. You want your people in there. You want to see the people and communicate. You want a nice space. And he's going to create it. He's opening up inside Old Trafford a few areas for these people to come back. So I think they should come back. They've signed a contract. That's the state of your employment. Now come and do it. And if you don't like it, out you go. To me, that's the right approach. Some people don't agree with that, but at the end of the day, they've signed a contract, and that's what you want. Adhere to it. So come on in, get back to work, and let's make it a happy place, because it's not been a happy place for a long time.
Nikos P said it's good management, no skiving at Manchester United. Akash K, cheers for your super chat, my mate. He says, hopefully they start hiring software engineers. Are you a software engineer then, Akash, I take it? Or are you just looking a bit further into detail that that's what Manchester United need? I'm not too sure, but I'm just going to go on to the actual email as well. And this was put into The Guardian. And they said, whilst many have welcomed our new approach, we are aware that a number of colleagues prefer not to commit to this new way of working and are keen to understand their options. With this feedback in mind and the fact that we respect each colleague's right to choose their approach to work, we will allow those who wish to resign now to claim their bonus early for this season if they cannot work from our offices from the 1st of June. Obviously, a little bit more in there if you wish to read it.
Yeah, well, what I take out of that is the word commit. I just don't understand that. People signed a contract. Obviously, COVID changed people's way of working, and people have just carried on with that. But they signed a contract. Obviously, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his people have looked at that contract and feel fully engaged in the tactics in what they're doing. They want people to commit to the contracts. People aren't happy returning to work. I'm baffled by that. Maybe, being nearly 66 years of age, the work ethic I've always put to myself and seeing other people is get to work, do a good job, get a good pay, and you'll be rewarded. That's how I see it. But commit to work. People aren't happy. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe's right in that approach. He's going to do that right through the business. It's not just with this email, but it is the right approach. And people need to get back into work. People need to be part of the family. We need to be one, working for the same goal.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, working as a family, etc. You know, working together in an office environment, team building, all that sort of stuff. But there's certain jobs, not just at Manchester United, out there as well, where you can work from home. A lot of people can work just from a laptop and work anywhere they'd like to work from. But he clearly sees it that some sections inside Manchester United, they should be back into the office.
Well, some people can work from home, but he's not having that.
Unless there's exceptional circumstances, obviously.
I'm not having people working from home. That's basically what he said. Of course, there is certain jobs what have been developed and tweaked where you can work from home, but he's having none of it. Doesn't matter whether it's okay working from home and you might get a bit of productivity out of that person. No, he's having none of it. Doesn't matter whether the individual says, well, I'm doing my job at home and I can do the same job here. No, you're not having easy street. Get in here and be part of a team. And that's what he's asking. I want you to be part of a team. I want you to commit. Spaces are being created, not just here in Manchester, they're being created in London. So there's no excuses. And come in and get a bonus, an early bonus, what you should receive in September. So there's a little bit of incentive to get your shoes on and get out of the house.
Thomas Nolan, people are crying already about the change already. Robbie in the chat says, Ineos have probably monitored their email traffic and found out they're doing sod all. Paul Griffiths says, any good business people would do this. Far too much dead wood throughout the club, he says.
People crying about the changes already. Let's get something straight here. The people what was in charge before Ineos come in, right, knew we had a bloated workforce all over the place and did nothing about it. Okay, they didn't create waves where they upset people. And I've said this time and time again. People were just looking after themselves inside Manchester United in every department. So people just let things carry on. And when you let things carry on, they fester, okay? And they fester into a sore, okay? And no one likes that, okay? And what Jim Ratcliffe's done, he's walked in here and he's just seen something what's festering. And it's a malaise, and it was a malaise from every department. You can't complain at any change what's going to happen. You might not like some of it. I might not like some of it. You know, we spoke the last couple of days about the manager. I might not like it, okay? But the change is coming, okay? And you have to accept it. And unfortunately, some of this workforce, right, not happy committing to coming into work, right, just sums up what's been going on for years and years and years. And Jim Ratcliffe is going to change it all. It'll either work or it won't.
Gricker in the chat says, United, just like many other businesses, are starting to get staff back into the offices. We have over twice as many backroom employees than the Blue Noses. Time for a reset across the whole club. If that's right with them stats, mate, there's twice as many. I've not looked into that.
No, I've not. If them stats are right, that's outrageous. But, you know, you look at it, I think where people have been working from home and employees like Manchester United, Manchester City and all that, I think in the air of what's going round in the world, in the country and all that, I think a lot of them have been frightened to death of doing what they think is the right thing in case of a backlash. But at the end of the day, the contracts are there and there's nothing these people can do. Some of them, and let's get something right, you know what the world's like, some of them, right, will be throwing a dead leg and walking about and just winging it. So at the end of the day, get them in. That's what you want.
Yeah, the Life of Riley says it's a no-brainer, really. If you're all in the same room working, it's so much easier to sort things out. But looking on the other side of things, Dean Saunders says some people out there are just jealous of people working from home. So, you know, if you have got that sort of approach, that mindset, let us know in the chat. And if you don't think it's beneficial for United staff to come back to work and that they should work from home doing certain jobs, but let us know in the chat. There's no right or wrong answer there.
There's no jealousy here about people working from home. Certainly not. That's not what this is about. What this is about is getting people back into work, okay, and being part of a family, right, so they can all get on and work for the same aim. So everyone knows each other, being part of a family. That's what it's about. But there's no jealousy here. So I don't know about out there. Some people might be jealous. You know what the world's like. Look, we're all expecting an overhaul in everything at Manchester United. And as a fan, the number one priority, especially for me, is what happens on the pitch. But in this world, we all know, you know, the world what we live in, right? We now can have access to everything, all the information, because it's out there. So we get involved in different subjects and everything like that. Whereas before, it was all about what we see. And what we seen was what was going on the pitch. So we'd all react to that. Now we can react, give our opinion on nearly everything what's going on inside Manchester United, right? That's the world we live in. And this is the right thing for Sir Jim Ratcliffe to do.
Obviously, I think it's Sir David Brailsford, you know, back in January, February, it was all coming out. He was doing the audit of the backroom staff, etc. So the actual contract of employment for a lot of these staff must have been looked at before they've made these decisions. And, you know, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, etc., must be right in wanting to get this done and staff returning on the 1st of June. There mustn't be any pushbacks or comebacks from this, because it must clearly state in their employment where they must be working from.
There's no pushback. Lawyers were right over this. And listen, he's come in, and the first thing he was definitely going to do was trim the workforce and look at it, and then trim other departments as well. And that's what's going on.
Yeah, just let us know in the chat there. To be fair, actually, you are all getting involved in the chat with your own opinions on it, whether you think it's a good thing, a bad thing on it. But yeah, I'd just like to see more of your opinions on it. But yeah, anything more to add on that actual subject, though?
Well, not exactly on that subject, but, you know, Ineos will be looking at value, right, on trimming the workforce and getting penny pinching, as some people out there call it, right? But at the end of the day, one of the things he'll be looking at, right, is the value of loan players. We've got lots of players out there on loan. And I've seen over the years that we've not actually got the value for them. It's like we waste time with them. I looked there recently over the last week. Charlie McNeil, for instance, we're talking about value, talking about getting value for players and everything. Charlie McNeil, young lad, got through in the Youth FA Cup, hasn't progressed. I think Manchester United, to be honest with you, we're expecting him to put on a bit of muscle, bit of height and all that, and then get through there. But his progress was stopped. Other players were in the place. He's just walked. His contract's just finished, and he's walked out. Now, who's allowed that to happen? There was a value there, and Ineos will be looking and screaming blue murder at how that on its own has been let go. So you've got loan players. You know, we've talked.
If you're looking at some of the younger players, there's some out on loan already, isn't it, that, from what I read, are coming back to Manchester United. Like, let's say Hannibal, who went out on loan to Sevilla, which I said to you at the time, why are we sending players out on loan to Sevilla? I don't think it'll work out, and by all accounts, it's not worked out. You know, you've got Palestri as well. They're the type of players that, what you're talking about value for money, you know, they're the types of players that I don't think will make it here at Manchester United. I do really like Hannibal, I've got to be honest, and I've mentioned it time and time again, but I'm not too sure whether he's actually got a place long-term in this.
No, but it's getting the value.
Yeah,
it's looking for getting it right, looking forward. What I'm saying, and I'm using Charlie McNeil as an example. I like the fella. Unfortunately, it's not worked out for him, but I'm using him as an example of what happens. 10 things have tended to drift. Well, Charlie McNeil's contract's drifted. He's a young lad. He's got potential, and we've not got the value for it. We've had him for years at Manchester United, okay, and the value hasn't been created. So when I talk about the loan players out there, okay, we've not had, up to now, I've not seen loan players have a value put on them, right, and the long term sorted out. They go out on loan, they come back, and then they're put back in the fold, and then they're loaned out again. There is a value. I don't understand how United keep churning through year after year, sending players out, the same players out on loan. I think Ineos will be looking at that and radically change it. And they're just one of the things I'm pointing out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I remember Dan Gorey signed a new contract, didn't he, at the start of last season. He looks like a player with potential. I think we'll let Joe Hugel, a centre-forward who really we would have needed, I think, at times throughout last season, considering we was always relying on Rasmus Højlund. Now, I think he went out on loan to, was it Burton?
I don't know.
Yeah, so he'll be returning back to the club in the summertime. So there is going to be, you know, a few younger players there who have been out on loan, and it's going to be interesting to see what Manchester United do with him next year. Did they put him into the first team squad, send him back out on loan, or will they actually look for transfers? We've just seen Alvaro Fernandez at Benfica, the left back. You know, was it £6 million they've paid for him?
Yeah.
Bonuses included, buyback clauses as well.
Yeah.
So,
but what it is, I'm saying they keep coming back. I don't think Ineos will allow that. I think a lot of these players, especially those you've just mentioned, right, will be sold. They'll get a value for him because there's another generation ready to come up and step up and sort of like touch the first team squad and then go out and get the experience. These loan players we seem to keep hold of the loan players too long and then lose value on them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's how I look at it. Now, you have to look at like some of the players, what we think will be sold. And you've got to look at like the value of them. This is what Ineos will be looking at. You know, when they're trimming the workforce, they're including the first team here as well. So value, what value are players worth? The saleability, you know, the wage bill savings, you know. And I've got a list of players there, you know, and you let me know if I should add to him or if I'm correct. Because Sancho, for instance, you know, there's a value there for him. Greenwood, there's a value there. Van De Beek, is there a value there for him? That's a question mark, but he's got to go, in my opinion. Then there's Eriksen. Is there a value? Is there a saleability for Eriksen? And then you look at Casemiro, you know, wage bill savings. What's going to happen there? Is there a value? Because all the talk is like downbeat, okay, since that cup final, during it, just before it, and way too much talk about Casemiro now. So is there a value and a saleability on Casemiro? They're the 5 players, I believe, straight away, without delving into like the list of players what are actually playing for Manchester United. I think Ineos will be looking at them 5 players for all them. Value, saleability, and wage bill savings. You know, some of them might not get sold on because the value's too dear, what Man United want. So they might end up just going out and saving on the wage bill. It's all there. You know, when you're looking at value and saving and all that, Varane has left. Is that a saving? Anthony Martial has left. Is that a saving? I don't think so, because we've got to go out now and replace Varane and Martial. The only way I think you could save anything on them 2 leaving, right, is actually not giving the replacements what come in the same wages as Varane and Martial were on. How that works, that'll be difficult. But there is no savings. I've seen people, the reason why I mention it is because people have been going on about savings for the last few days, right? And they've mentioned, oh, we're going to save money on, but you're not going to save a penny by Varane walking out. You're not going to save a penny by Martial walking out because they need replacing. We've got to spend money to replace him, and then we've got to pay the wages. So them 2, there's no savings whatsoever. But the 5 what I've mentioned, Sancho, Greenwood, Van De Beek, Casemiro and Eriksen, there's savings there one way or another. It's how it's perceived and how they get on with it now. And are they sellable?
The Esquire 7 says the turnover of players and their contracts are getting scrutinised. It's about time too. Ineos will not give money away. Talking about Sancho there, what are you thinking about a price there for Jadon Sancho? Because let's have it right. Borussia Dortmund are hyping him up to death on social media that all of a sudden he's this great player now. So you know, they go and win the Champions League as well.
I've got to give you my honest opinion here on Sancho. I've not heard anything about him. It's the media what are pushing this. Yeah, he had a good game in the semi-final. Yeah, he had a good game. That's all it was. But what did he do before that? I hadn't heard anything. But as soon as he got in that semi-final, every news outlet is Jadon Sancho back to his best. What's his best? I've not seen his best. I don't know what his best is. I've seen a player play well in a semi-final. Okay, that's it. But now, today, well, this morning and yesterday, Jadon Sancho, great player, great. He's not a great player. He's not done anything. So what his value is, I can't estimate what it is. I know what United want.
Yeah, but Borussia Dortmund themselves are actually bigging up Jadon Sancho as well. So that's only going to benefit us, surely. You'd expect it to be. For me personally, for what we paid for Jadon Sancho, and if whether Dortmund win the Champions League or not, you're going to be wanting surely around about that 50 million mark. If we want to be serious in transfer negotiations, okay, with players coming in, players going out, they've got to be looking at that £50 million. Okay. I know he's on huge wages, but you've got to start somewhere. Okay. You don't start at the bottom of the barrel.
So with Jadon Sancho, the first thing I would say is saleability. Well, who else wants him? It's only like when he come to United. United were mugged right off with that, right? Yeah. 120 million, then it went down and down. And in the end, these idiots here inside the club went and paid that amount of money for a player nobody else was chasing. Well, who again is chasing Jadon Sancho? Who again is chasing him? Nobody as far as I know. If you know, then let us know, okay? But the saleability isn't there. So the value on him, as far as I'm concerned, as I look at it, get 30 million, because I don't think you're going to get any more.
Due to wages. That's the big problem, though, isn't it, over the years? And I know everyone's going to be saying it in the chat as well, because we've all discussed it. It's the actual wages that are the sticking problem in moving these players on. So just get the money, get some money in for him, get that money banked, and save on the wages. That's how I look at it. And then Mason Greenwood. What would you... Yeah, I was just going to get on to him. What would you say fee for him?
Just sell him now, get 25 million for him, right? With clauses. With clauses. Yeah. This is very difficult for Greenwood to go to another club because you don't know the reaction from all quarters. So just get him out nice and cheap, take the money, okay? Take the money, but put the clauses in it. And it's called, if he plays so many games, if he achieves something and things like that. That to me is the most sensible thing to do when you're looking at saleability and value. The wage bill isn't that great amount, to be honest with you. I think he was on about £75,000, but in the big picture of all the other players, it's moderate.
Yeah, I think his contract actually runs out next summer, but I think United have then got a further option for another year. So realistically, it's going to be 2 years. If Manchester United can't sell him this summer and they put him out on loan again, you would have thought they'd trigger that 1 year option, wouldn't they?
The value keeps going down, Someone wants Mason Greenwood, just sell him nice and cheap. Stop loaning him out. You're going to get nothing at the end of the day. Just get him off the books, get the problem out the way, as most people see him as a problem. Just get him out the way and move on. This is the big changes coming with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And them two players, Sancho and Greenwood, bang, get them out, stop the problem, and then you look at Van De Beek.
The thing is with Greenwood as well, by our reports, he's had a decent season. Did he get Player of the Year over at Getafe? So you'd expect him now to make that step up in terms of the team he next goes to. So could he even go to Borussia Dortmund? I've seen rumours about him going there. Juventus as well in Italy. So, you know, we could be coming to the summer now where one of them teams actually do pay a transfer fee for him.
Listen, his talent is unquestionable. Great talent. He should be at Manchester United, plying his trade, right? But the thing is, his talent isn't the issue here. It's the off-field and what comes with it, okay? That's the problem, and that's where the value is. Now, I look at Van De Beek there. Absolute disaster for him. Complete disaster in all different ways. I could just go on and on and on about him. But there is no value for Donny Van De Beek. So you've just got to look at saving the wage. Just get rid. Just go and get 5 million from someone. And I think you'll struggle with that.
Yeah, I think in the
I know it sounds bad.
When he went to Frankfurt, I think they had actually a buy option of something like £6 million, you know, or €6 million. Yeah. And they weren't having any of it. So for me, for Donny Van De Beek, I think he either goes back to Holland in one of the lower clubs in that league, or maybe a trip over to the MLS in America to revive his career and to try and get some football, because I just can't see it in any of the top leagues in Europe, to be honest with you.
I think for Ineos to get any value out of him, I think they're going to struggle. That's how I see it, because I think Donny Van De Beek will stay as a Manchester United player and collect his wages and then just ride off into the sunset playing football, whoever wants him. But I don't think there's any value there. I don't think there's any saleability. And the wage bill savings, I don't think there's none, because I don't think they're going to get him off the books. Very, very difficult to loan him out when all the reports are saying he's not done anything. He doesn't seem to have it. He doesn't seem as though he wants the game of football. Injuries have upset his rhythm a few times. But at the end of the day, he was never good enough for the Premier League or strong enough. So even the wage bill savings is going to be difficult.
Yeah, I think his contract runs out next summer. I'm not sure if United have got a 1-year option on that, but he was actually shortlisted in 2019 for the Ballon d'Or on the actual shortlist. And it just shows you how his stock's just gone bang like that.
Well, as soon as he moved into the Premier League, that was him. His stock went right down because he was exposed to the physicality and the speed of Premier League football. So that's what happens, and it seems to happen to a lot of players.
Yeah, Casemiro though, what are you thinking there? But if you believe everything out there, it looks like he might be going to Saudi Arabia. So you want them to start putting their hand in the pockets. They've got deep pockets as well. But what would you realistically look for a price?
Listen, I think realistically, I don't think they're going to be had right over in Saudi. I think, listen, realistically, if we got 20 million, I'd be over the moon. And the reason why I say that, right, is because it is value. It's money in the pocket, okay? But it's a massive, massive wage bill savings. And when I look at the saleability of Casemiro, I don't see anywhere else he can go who can pay them wages, okay, and also pay a substantial fee. And 20 million for Casemiro is a substantial fee. So that's the saleability.
We paid a substantial fee for him, though, from Real Madrid, didn't we? Was it roughly 60 million? But if you broke that down and we sold him for 20 million, let's say, was Casemiro worth 20 million per season on the 40 million then you're missing out?
Was it the value of his wages, the value of what we paid for him?
His wages,
everything about him, it was never that value. As soon as we bought him, the moment he walked in, right? And that's been one of the bugbears of a lot of people about what it's cost, how we've spent money, how we've wasted. And it's one of the bugbears of what Erik ten Hag's done, bringing in players value like that. And then you look at Antony.
So with wages,
and we've not even started on Antony, which we will do probably tomorrow.
Might even start on him in a minute, but you look at Casemiro, actually, when you're mentioning the wages as well, even in the 2 seasons, you're talking a package there already of about £100 million, aren't you?
No one's
transfer fee included.
Right, so
and the wages per week.
What you've just said there, just
I know,
everyone's off the scale.
When you actually talk it out loud.
Talk it out loud. But just say, listen, if they gave him away, a massive saving on the wage bill, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos will be looking at that, and I look at it, good housekeeping, just start trimming it, start sorting this money out. There's a lot of money to be spent over the next few years here at Manchester United, and you've got to do the savings. But the people we've just talked about, right, a clear cut, right, for cost cutting and getting them out of the club and moving on. And that's what you want to see. That's what I want to see. And I'd be very honest to God, I'd be very disappointed if there's no movement from the club to try and solve just these 5 players out alone and moving them on.
There's been a lot of talk, not even just in the last few days. I think going all the way back to December at Christmas time about Michael Olise from Crystal Palace. Obviously, he's a right winger as well. I want to know your thoughts on him, whether you think it'd be a good signing at Manchester United. But if he was to come to United, you mentioned Antony before. Surely that's curtains for him.
Oh, listen, when Antony came into Manchester United, and I'll be honest with you, it's out there, and I've said it a few times, I thought he was a good player. I thought he's going to develop. He's going to be like a big, bright spark for Manchester United, what the crowd are going to love. And it looked that way. Yeah. But how disappointing he's been on and off the field. And I have said a couple of months ago, I started to notice I wasn't liking what I've seen, this angry head on the pitch for no reason, reacting to stupidity. No other player does it, and it was baffling.
Petulance, isn't it?
Well, I think it's more than petulance. I think there's some deep-rooted problem there. And when you look at his off-field antics, what were reported, it all looks at like this is one nasty person. I don't like what I see as a human being on and off the field. So for Manchester United, it's been a complete and utter waste of time. Personally, I give it my opinion again, I don't think Antony will be turning it round. I looked at him at the FA Cup final walking about with this sour face on him. He's not happy. He's like mulling over a few things. He's definitely not happy. And you wouldn't be happy being dropped from the cup final. But I think he knows the writings on the card because he doesn't seem to be able to turn it around. Been given every chance.
Do you think we should
by Ten Hag? People out there used to call him his pet. Erik ten Hag's pet. Well, he's not been Erik ten Hag's pet for quite a while now. So that narrative about him being Erik ten Hag's pet, right? That soon went, didn't it? He's stuck him on the bench and not even picked him, not even brought him on. So the writing's on the wall for Antony.
Antony's a stick.
But there's no value.
Yeah, it seems to be a bit of a stick to beat Erik ten Hag with, though, Antony, because of the actual price that was actually paid for him, and it's just clearly not worked out up to now. But for me, I would not be surprised at all if Manchester United loaned Antony out next season. I really wouldn't, especially if they got Michael Olise. But then again, with the wingers that we actually think we buy for the right-hand side over the years, they prefer playing on the left. So you probably get Olise to come here. Oh, I don't want to play on the right, I'll go on the left.
If I'm right that Antony's not going to change and not going to improve, and Ineos think that themselves, then why loan him out? Just sell him. Just sell him. If he's not going to, if they've got the same opinion as a lot of people out there have, that Antony isn't going to change, he's not going to improve, he's garbage, he's rubbish. I see all them words, right? Okay, then why just loan him out? Just sell him.
Yeah, but I think if you're going to put a player up for transfer, you're not always going to get clubs to come in and pay a fee straight away. You've got to think of his wages again, like we keep talking about. Players, clubs won't take a punt and a big punt because of what we've actually paid for him. You want to recoup something back on that. So I think the only option you're going to get is clubs to come in and actually loan him for a season. Man United probably would take a transfer fee for him, but no club out there is going to be that stupid to go and pay 40 or 50 million that they surely would want at a minimum Manchester United. So
what they want and what they get, right, is based on the value of the player. And Antony's value has plummeted so far down, it's unreal.
Yeah.
So you're talking 30, 40 million. I'm talking 20 and less. That's what I'm talking about. And then you look at his wages, like we do with a lot of them, how high them wages are. You know, are people going to pay them wages? So the value of the transfer, when you look at people like Antony, Casemiro, Sancho and all that, right? The value of the transfer goes right down because these fools inside here have put them on massive contracts, okay, where the wages are sky high, right? And that is actually hindering the value of the sell-on.
I think there was an article, I think it was in The Athletic, I forget which journalist it was, and they said under Solskjaer, they actually scouted Antony and actually put a price on him of £25 million as well at the time. As we know with that transfer, I think they were looking to do it early on in the window, didn't want to pay the actual fee then obviously, as Manchester United do, later on the transfer, they end up throwing a load of cash on it and getting the player. But just one player I want to get your thoughts on, and everyone out there, we've discussed him before, but I thought he had an absolutely fantastic cup final, is Sofyan Amrabat. A player you want here next season, or do you think we should let him go back to Fiorentina?
Sofyan Amrabat. I look at it this way with Sofyan Amrabat, right? I looked at him. I didn't know really much about him. I seen him in the World Cup. I watched all his games. I thought he was excellent, and I thought we was getting a decent player. Okay, I've not seen a decent player. There's many reasons for that, injuries and all that. So I haven't seen that. I seen him against Newcastle and I thought he was terrific, the way he got in. Then I seen him at Brighton. I didn't like what I seen. I thought he was poor, but they were all poor. Okay, so that might have just been a malaise. I expected a bit of a malaise the game before the cup final.
Yeah.
But when you see him, the evidence, what you've seen him play against Newcastle and Man City, fancy me nearly forgetting that name.
I think he was probably he was going to call him something else, probably. Yeah. That's why.
I was. I think based on the Newcastle game, Amrabat and the cup final, I think you would say, excellent, sign him. Let's just see if they can. If they are thinking of it, okay. I don't think they are thinking of it, but that FA Cup final game might be changing a few people's minds inside United. But I think what they will do, they will go back in, right, and offer a lot less.
Yeah.
I think that would be sensible to do.
Yeah, especially if we do start getting rid of the likes of Casemiro, etc.
I think
it all depends on who we're going to recruit in as well. Another midfielder. I hope we do buy like a proper, strong, tall defensive midfielder this summer.
Well, listen.
But then again, in the way Erik ten Hag plays,
possession.
I know it's not Christmas, but possession based. You know, will we see a summer where Frankie de Jong's mentioned again? You never know, do you? I think that will come up at some point, so do not be surprised this summer if you see that name thrown in the hat by these top journalists.
I don't think we'll be surprised by any of the names what come up. But going back to Amrabat there, I looked at him, and especially in the cup final, which he's bound to be euphoric, down, happy, cheering and everything else like that. But the last couple of games I've seen him, from a personality point of view, it's like that with the badge. Yeah. He's like...
Same with like that Willie Campbell, the young kid as well. I do like all that. It shows like some of these players have actually got a proper emotion and a loving sort of thing to the club. Not a love, but, you know, a real liking that they want to be here and play for the club.
Yeah. But the flip side of that, we've seen it. This is the Premier League.
Yeah.
Mega money. We've seen players do all that, kiss the badge and everything else like that. And they've flopped and they just give up and they just can't be bothered because they've now got the wages. So let's just hope that's not true if we keep Amrabat. But I think they will be looking at him because there is a possibility that they do go for him, even though before the cup final, looking at the Newcastle and Brighton game, I wasn't too keen on him. So look at him by all means, but I think it's all about value.
Yeah, value. And if we do get in the summer, and if what players we do get rid of. But yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone, sorry, for getting involved in today's chat. A lot of you have actually got involved in that chat on Amrabat, and I'd say it's near enough 50-50 or 60 for him saying, 40 against. But you've got to continue the conversation on everything we've discussed today. Please get involved in the chat. It's much love as well. Smash that like button and subscribe as well if you continue to like our content. Much appreciated, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.